Hello, hi Judy.
Where did we interrupt you?
I'm sitting in the studio right now. I thought it was a good place to do the call.
That might be true. So at the beginning, if you can shortly, briefly introduce yourself to our follower who Unlisted Fanatic is.
Yeah. Well, I am Martin. My artist name is Unlisted Fanatic. I live in Antwerp, Belgium, and I make reggae, roots, dub, everything a bit more to the dub digital side. But I do believe I incorporate a lot of organic elements. I use guitars and keyboards and a lot of horns. So the backbone is a bit digital. I program drums. I make them a bit harder, but I like to keep some of the real reggae and roots vibe in there. And I work with several artists around the globe. I've got some artists here with whom I like to work, but I also recorded people along the way when they were on tour, or that I met and afterwards they recorded in their studio. And I have about, I think now about 15 vinyl releases out, and I have 5 coming already for 2019 planned. So it's promised to be a nice year.
Sounds great. If you already at the beginning of the year, you know there's gonna be 5 releases. That's productive.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I didn't have. I usually have a pace, or in the past, I used to have a pace of 2 records each year since I started, and most of them started on my own label, which is Running Records. I had 2 before that, and then I started my own label. But last couple of years, I had releases on other labels. 2 of them were strictly dub from Estonia, and last year I had one on Dub Up Records, which was a new record label here in Belgium. And next year I've been doing work for finishing tracks, and I want to have a new release on Sir Running. But also Dub Up is gonna be releasing one of the new tracks, which is the first one. And then I've been doing work for some other people, which will also do the releases, and that way I know it will be 5. So yeah, a lot of the work is starting to pay off.
Nice. Good to hear that. I really want to ask you about your name, Unlisted Fanatic. How did you come up with this name?
Well, a long time ago, in the 90s, I was into hip-hop, and together with a friend, we were doing DJing and also doing a bit of rapping. We weren't that good, but we needed a name, and we already had a name, but weren't that happy with it. And in a record, in one of the rap records, I heard something which sounded like Unlisted Fanatic. So I rewinded it and I listened back, and he didn't really say something. It was something similar, but not that. But I kind of liked it, Unlisted Fanatic, so I kind of kept it as my name. But after a while, we still didn't have a name for the 2 guys doing the raps. So for a while, it was Unlisted Fanatics. And then after years, we sort of went our own ways, and it came back to being Unlisted Fanatic. Because that was a name people know it here, and I know it's not a very reggae name, but it was a name I had. I also had a couple of dub plates on that name, and I just decided to stick with it. I'm not so concerned with what people feel you need to have or think Ras this or you have so much brother whatever names. So I don't really care about that. That's why I like you guys have the Boris sound system. I really like that name, That's just totally different. And that way it makes sort of stick out. I know Jamaicans find it a quirky name, but it's Unlisted Fanatic. I don't feel I need to be in any box or category. I'm just me, and I'm fanatic because I work really hard. I'm very passionate. So in a way, the name applies.
They say the name choose you, you don't choose the name. So
yeah.
I guess it was meant to be. So you mentioned you started with hip hop. When did you realize you're gonna do music in your life? I mean, when did you discover that passion?
Well, actually, when I was in my student years, I went from a small town to a bigger town, and there was a hip hop movement there. And I really got interested in that and started buying vinyl. And one of my first goals was when I would start work was to buy 2 turntables and a little mixer, because that was what you needed, and to plug in a microphone. And that seems what we all just needed to begin. But after a little while, I really got interested in gear and all that, and I started looking into samplers and all that. That's all in the 90s. I bought some stuff. I started building a small studio, but back in the day, it was not that serious in making stuff. And then after many years of DJing, a lot of hip hop, and then moving into dancehall and jungle, I finally discovered UK dub, and to me that sort of opened my doors. And I moved out of my town, and I kind of wanted to do something more than just DJ, because the scene there it didn't collapse, but there you could play everything. And then you came to a big city, and everything was more in boxes. You had the reggae scene, you had the dancehall scene, you had the jungle drum and bass scene. And I just felt I still wanted to play, but I want to make a mark on something more. And then I started really diving into making tracks, and that sort of just came together with when I found the sound system, and then the tracks I started to make just fitted for being played on a sound system, and that's when it took off.
You mentioned scene. How is scene in Belgium? Sound system, music?
Now it's definitely sound system music. In late 90s, beginning 2000, it was all dancehall. It were like everybody was playing dancehall. And then slowly the sound system scene got known here, and like big festivals like Reggae.Si started to put up a dub corner, and then even people here started building their own sounds. So it kind of grew as I started making my music. There were already people busy with it, but it started to grow really. And now it's very big, I think. It's maybe even a bit too big. You have, in every town, there is somebody building a sound, trying to do some gigs, but there's been, like when 15 years back, when I really got into it or got to know it, you had to like drive an hour or two to get to a dance. And everybody there you would know, because the scene wasn't that big, and people traveled because they wanted to see something, because there wasn't that much to see. Now there is, they're even making websites with lists who is doing a dance, so that you wouldn't interfere with it, but it's just impossible because there are too many sound system dances.
Yeah.
It's good, but at the same way, it's too much maybe, but better too much than nothing, I guess.
I mean, I prefer quality over quantity, but yeah, I mean, it's good for the scene that sounds are growing, and there is a little competition. I mean, that's how sound system culture actually grew, on competition.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, that's true, but it's just, what I do see is a bit, when we came into it, I don't have a sound system because I built with the studio, and then I got wife and kids, and I'm just too busy. I would like a sound system, but I'm just too busy, and I can't really take it on board next to it. But some people are so focused on just building the sound system that they don't look at the legacy of the records and building up a selection, and they just want the sound system. Because you have guys who have like a very big sound system, but they don't even have one record. They come to play with a laptop and downloaded MP3s, and that's. I don't have anything with playing with a laptop, but I just mean it's for us it was buying, or for a lot of them it was buying records, and it was building your collection. And so some people just go quick, but I guess there is interest, and everybody needs to learn. So everybody needs to discover their place. So that's part of the process, I think.
Yeah, of course. You can't force anything.
No, true.
People mostly know you by, I mean, one of your most successful records was a collaboration with Micah Shimaya on Do Right track. How did that happen? How did you meet Micah? Did you contact him or he contact you? How did that collab happen?
Well, I was lingering for myself at that time, that I sort of wanted to do something with a Jamaican artist because I was always looking. I did have some older guys like Barry Heptones and Carlton Livingston at the beginning when I started, but that was through links and when they traveled. And then I saw new people coming on the scene like Micah, and I was sort of thinking it would be nice to record some of those Jamaican artists because they have a vibe, and a lot of UK singers are a bit in the same vibe. And I kind of like the Jamaican vibe because that's where it started from. They have a bit of a deeper punch. And I saw he was in Europe, and I was thinking I should try and contact with those people. And then I suddenly saw he was staying at a promoter who had booked me a couple of times. He was staying there for a couple of days. And it was holidays, so I contacted him and I said, hey, his review, can I maybe get in touch and all? So I went up there where he was staying and I took a couple of rhythms and we talked and we made a deal and he was going to write the track. And then a couple of months later, he came back to Europe and then because he didn't have time to record it yet, I went to pick him up because he was staying at the same place, so that he could come to my studio and record it. And then we worked out the track and recorded it, and I brought him back so he could continue his tour. That's how it went.
Nice.
Yeah,
because Micah is a really great artist. I mean, I love his vibe and music. So really.
Yeah, true. It's but it was really nice because you could interact. You know, you were there, and because when he was there the first time, he was sort of trying some stuff out. And he was like, right. And I remembered that. And when I came back, he didn't have that anymore because he lost his iPad where he made a sketch on it. So he was writing the lyrics again. And he was writing something completely different. And it was nice, but it wasn't as catchy. So I told him, why don't you do that anymore? And he was like, I forgot. So he kind of flipped it and he used parts that he had as a chorus, as a verse. And then he got a much stronger chorus to that, and that was because we were there together, you know. Otherwise, that wouldn't have happened. I would have probably still got a nice track, but might have not been as big as this one, you know. So that's nice when you can interact with people.
It's much easier if you have an artist in person in studio than do it via Skype or anything like that. But besides Micah Shimaya, I work a lot with, Kaliman, Lyrical Benji, Paul Fox, Dub Factory. How is it to collaborate with so many artists? I mean, is there any fun anecdote from any of the recordings or?
Well, Paul Fox, I got to know him because I saw him on one of the first dub shows I went to in Paris back in the days when I wanted to while I was there with my wife a weekend, and we sort of timed that we could go to a dance because they were not so frequent then. And I really liked his voice, and then along the way I sent him a rhythm and we got to know each other. Accidentally had to play at Reggae.Si when I had to play there the first time, so we got to know each other a bit better, and we built on that, and we did it. I brought him over to do a show. And so we did an extra track, and he became a really good friend because we did a lot of shows with him, and we even went to stay with him for a couple of days. Lyrical Benji, I got to know because he was a good friend with Slimma. I did a lot of work with Jam Melody, who was a good friend. And back in those days, there was a lot of interaction because those Lyrical Benji tracks, they're actually been recorded 7 years ago, so they're only now getting finished. And with Parvis, so similar story. I was on a long time ago. I was on a show where they were playing. Introduced to myself, and I said, "Can I send you a rhythm?" And sort of talked about it. And then 3 years later, I sent him a rhythm when I felt ready for it. And then that sort of came about that way. So that's because I like people. And I got a good. I contact people I like, and it helps when you have a good vibe with them when you meet them, and you get to do a show with them sometimes. So that sort of builds more of a personal thing, and they're all very nice guys. So
you collabed with a lot of artists, but is there any you have it on your bucket list? You still haven't collabed with them, but you really want to, like any artist out there?
Oh. Well, I have a small list that I sort of think those are people I would like to contact in the future. when I've finished a bit of the work, but it's not like they're big desires. It's more people that I've seen feasible. I always wanted to do Earl 16, but I've recorded him now and preparing him for my 10th release on my label. I'll play that track for sure at your dance. So yeah, no, I don't know. I'm actually more for the moment more looking for people who I can have close relationships with, because that's nicer to work with. So yeah, I'm sure there's some people I really would like, but I can't really. Yeah, I don't.
Too many of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you also mentioned your label, Sir Running, where you say you run a Positive Selection. But before you mentioned you had two labels before that. Did I catch that right?
No, there were 2 records released on Cookie Jar Records.
Okay, yeah.
And they were released on. There was a guy in Belgium here, and he released those 2 records, but he sort of stopped with it. And also, it's a long story, but I felt for myself it was better to do it myself, because we sort of did it in collaboration, and he was doing a shop. And it didn't really work out 100% well, and I got to know a lot through it and a lot of people that I could contact, and it just felt easier and more direct to put it out myself. And then I put up Sir Renin, and but now people start contacting me from a lot of different places to do tracks with, and or they ask me, can you build a rhythm? I have an idea for this singer. Would you be interested in doing that? And that's the way it works. So, and in a way, it's good that I can do stuff on my own label, but keep some distance in between. And then in the meantime, other tracks can release it, because it's always a different. People have different contacts, and other people get to notice it through other releases and other labels. So I quite like that, you know. So.
You're running this label for quite a few years now, like, 7-8 years or something like that, right?
Yeah, it could be, yeah. I think the first release was in 2010 or 11, I think.
No, even more. Which release made most impact, by your opinion? Was there any release that really, like, topped everything else?
Oh, I don't know, actually. The thing is, though, because I do attend a lot of festivals and dances, but I'm not one to travel a lot abroad. I mean, I used to go to University of Dub and all that, but since we got kids and all that, it's been different. So it's often the track gets released and you get feedback, but you don't really know, because a lot of times when you give big sound tracks, you never really get any response from it, you know. They don't tell you I've played it there or there or there. So, but I'm pretty happy with a lot of releases, because a lot did well. Like Cantankerous sold out really well, and it was really fast. Also the Moonshine Horns Authentic, which Abayu played a bit, went down really well. And I still feel when I play it now, it still works. So that's one I'm really happy with. Also, Micah did really well. I think that was for exposure maybe one of the biggest.
I can imagine Micah grew big in this time. So soon you're coming here to Slovenia for the first time, right? You ever been to Slovenia? No?
No, I've never been.
Are you looking forward?
Yeah, of course I am.
Do you know anything about Slovenia? Did you check anything or?
Well, to me it looks a bit like Austria, but a bit more to the east. maybe that's not a good comparison, but yeah. But to me that's far off. So I know a bit about the country, but I'm not very knowledgeable. But I'm looking forward to visit the city and maybe see something of the city as well as next to the dance. So. Yeah, it would be nice. That's one of the nice things of being in the music, that you can meet people and visit places that you would usually not go to yourself, you know, so...
Yeah, I get it. We'll show you around, no worries. Ljubljana is a really nice city, and Slovenia also, so there's plenty to see.
Alright, cool.
Yeah, so when we talked at the beginning, you said you are planning 5 releases this year.
Yes.
You mentioned already Earl 16. Can you share any more info with us?
Yeah. The first one will be like a very heavy stepper with, or for my doing, a very fierce stepper with Lyrical Benji on one side, and the other side is YT, a very big singer in the UK.
We know.
We've also done a lot of, yeah. And I think that one is going to be very big because I don't know. I really have a feeling because to me it's still very musical, but it's very hard, very driven. And both Benji and YT have a very good vocal, but with a different energy. Then I have my own one, which will not be until the summer, but that's Chasbo with the Moonshine Horns on one side, and on the main side will be Earl 16. I think a very nice tune. And then let me think. There will be a Sandino track with a horns cut that will be released on Tribe 84. That's already finished, but they're dealing with it right now. Then there will be a release with, which actually a combination of a rhythm I made together with Russ Disciples, and a new label here in Belgium will release that. And there's also a vocal on there with Parvez the Dub Factory. That's 4, which is number 5.
For more, let people come to our dance and hear them if they want.
Yeah, I'll play them. I'll play them for sure. So
for the end, are there any wisdoms or words you want to share with our followers here in Slovenia?
Nah, I don't know. I don't feel to hold the wisdom to all stuff. So, no, I hope a lot of people will come, and I hope the people who come will enjoy it. I will do my best to play some nice music, and we'll hope we'll have a good time. And that's actually it. Doesn't need to be more. Just a nice time, good music, and a good dance.
True. Well, thank you for your time. It's been a pleasant talk.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a lovely evening, man.
You too. Bye.
Bless up.
Super nice. There is a very, 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 very cool interview with Unlisted Fanatic on Reggae.Si. You should check it out. A very, very nice website.